stand where we sit in a time of great childlike. On one hand, Yom Adin is coming. Hashanah will be here in a few days. And really, we should be shaking and trembling in fear. Yet, most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, we don't feel like that. What can we do about this? How can we change our world perception? How can we change our perception of what's going on that will be connected to the day of Rosh Hashanah? The Kadmonim, the Rishonim, Ramban, and others say something quite incredible. Rosh Hashanah is called Kesel Yom Hagenu, and it's covered up. It's covered up. The moon, usually on the Chagim, the moon is full, the moon is revealed. Sukkot, Pesach, even Shavuos, Purim, all these days the moon is revealed, but on Rosh Hashanah it's covered up. And the Ramban says that the entire essence of Rosh Hashanah is covered up. It's a covered up day. It's a day which was not exposed to the world. We know that all the nations of the world are judged in Rosh Hashanah. Yet, who knows about this? Who knows what's going on? Even the Jewish people, as much as we know very, very little. Because the essence of Rosh Hashanah is about being covered up. Rosh Hashanah is a day where everything which is covered up, and yet it becomes revealed. For a split second, as we pass in front of Hashem, everything that's covered up is revealed. And how do we prepare for this day? The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah says that on Pesach, we bring barley, because we're judged on the crops. On Shavuos, we bring shtei alechem, 2 breads. On Sukkot, we bring water, because we're judged on the water. And on Rosh Hashanah, we bring ourselves. Our own neshamas, which are in our bodies, are for a split second part removed from our bodies and stand in front of the Kisei HaKavod, just like we'll be on the day that we die. When our neshama leaves our goof, that's the time of judgment, the time a person passes on from this world. On Rosh Hashanah, for a split second, the neshama is, as it were, outside the body. And on that day, on that moment, on that split second, he's in front of Hashem. Arizal says, you know that when you start crying, when tears start pouring down your cheeks. And by the way, if you take those tears and wipe them on your forehead, you wipe away the writing on your head, which comes from every time you do a transgression. On that moment, then your neshama is separate from your goof, is separate from your body, and just standing alone in front of Hashem. And that's Kesel Yom Hagenu. Everything is covered up until we get to Rosh Hashanah, and when we get to Rosh Hashanah, it's all covered up. The judgment is covered up. The essence of the day is covered up. In fact, the Ramban and other Rosh write, we don't know anything about Rosh Hashanah. Almost everything is hidden. The only thing we know is the shofar. The shofar is the hint. It's Yom Zikron Shua. It's the hints that there's a day of Zikaron. It's the hints that Hashem is making his kingship felt in this world by judging us. As Rashi says at the end of the first parak of Brachos. Why do we say HaMelech HaKadosh? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu manifests his kingship in this world. And that's the Kesef Yom Hagenu. Everything which is covered up on Rosh Hashanah is uncovered. It's Yom Zikron Shua, and this year Rosh Hashanah is on Shabbos. It's really Yom Zikron Shua. We don't have the shofar. Even the shofar is covered up. It's so covered up that even we don't have a shofar. So the only thing we have in Rosh Hashanah, right, is a hint to its existence. And we have to come to that self-perception. The Eliyah Rabbah writes, why do Ashkenazim have a custom 4 days before, at least 4 days before Rosh Hashanah, say slichos? Because when you bring that korban, like we said in the Gemara Rosh Hashanah, the korban is ourselves. When you bring that korban, at least 4 days before, you have to check it. Our job these days is to go deep inside of ourselves, deep inside our hearts, and separate our body from our neshama and understand, what is this neshama doing in this world? What am I here for? What are my goals? What are my priorities? What are my perspectives? What do I have to pursue and what do I have to flee from? The more we have a clarity of what our neshama is doing here in this world, the more connected we will be on the day of judgments. The more we'll feel that it's really happening. Rosh Hashanah writes about his mother, that during the month of El, when people would talk to her, she said, I have a court case coming up. And she was shaking. literally shaking. We're not talking about so many years ago. We're talking about 97. He was an orphan at 8, I believe. And okay, so we're talking about less than 90 years ago, less than 100 years ago. There was a woman who felt trepidation on the upcoming judgment. We can touch on that by separating, as the Ramban says, when we die, our neshama will leave our goof and there will be a great judgment. The more we separate now our neshama from our body, our soul from our body, the more we could do that and take it and hold it in our hands and look at it and say, this is me. That is because of Yom Plagenu. It's a day which is covered up, and the task at hand is to uncover ourselves. We all wear a mask. We all hide ourselves behind our mask, or maybe plural masks, and we cover ourselves with many, many layers. The more that we uncover ourselves during these days, the more we'll see who we really are. And as we stand in front of Rosh Hashanah, in front of Hashem, exposed and revealed, naked in front of God, yeah? So on that day, we'll understand what's really going on and what's really happening and what is Hashem seeing. If we would know how Hashem sees us, we would hide our face in shame. But we don't know. And that's why we're able to be so calm now during these days. I'm going to conclude with some powerful words from the Sfas Emes. The Sfas Emes asks a question. When we blow shofar, as we said from the Ramban, that's Zikran Shua, that is what it starts the din. That is what starts the judgment. That is the essence of the judgment. How can we blow shofar? How can we do this? How can we blow shofar and bring the judgment on ourselves? Says the Sfas Emes, it's worth it for 1 second to be totally revealed and connected to God, even though we're exposed and we're revealed and we're naked in front of Hashem. But at the same time, yeah, it's worth it for that 1 split second to be in front of Hashem and be so close to Him and be exposed in front of Him. It's worth it. But the more we take the time now during these precious last days before Rosh Hashanah, and we take it and we separate our neshama from our goof. This is going to happen anyway when we die. We could do it right now. Separate your neshama from goof. Who am I? What am I all about? What do I believe in? What are my ideologies? What do I want and like? And what do I don't want to flee from? The more that we do this, the more we will be connected to the reality which will take place in a few days. That is what's going to be. That, when you peel all the peels off, as Rav Moshe Shapiro often said from the Zohar, Klipa Kodemes Lepri, there are many, many peels around ourselves. And the more that we take those peels off, the more we have the pure fruits, which is our pure neshama. This is our job during these days. Expose ourselves as much as possible. Take off all the layers of transgression, of side activities, of distractions, of other things that we might be involved with. Take them off. Uncover ourselves, right? It's a day of hiddenness. The essence of Rosh Hashanah is hiddenness. It's a hidden day. The moon is covered. The day is covered. It's a day which is covered. Chazal have revealed almost nothing about it. You could look in the Zohar. The Zohar has some very, very awesome and scary things about Rosh Hashanah. But almost everything is hidden. Because the task before Rosh Hashanah is to come to our own recognition of it. Right? Rosh Hashanah is a personal day where we have our own connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, each one according to where they are. You have to make your Rosh Hashanah. You have to create your own Rosh Hashanah. And that is what you're doing now, preparing yourself for this awesome day. Hashem should give us the greatest siyata d'shmaya, to the best of our ability, to be ready for this day of judgments, so that when our neshama is standing in front of our HaKadosh Baruch Hu, completely naked and exposed in our true self, that we'll be happy with what we have to show, and that we'll be able to stand each person in judgment, each one according to who he is and what he stands for. Amen. Kain Tiratzon.